We're checking out Life is Strange Double Exposure, where Max Caulfield returns with new powers and a gripping mystery. By the end of this video, you'll know if Double Exposure is worth your time. In Double Exposure, Max Caulfield returns, now older and seemingly more experienced. She's left her hometown behind and relocated to the prestigious Caledon University to work as a photographer in residence. However, just as it seems that Max is settling into a new chapter of her life, tragedy strikes. Her close friend, Safi, is found dead in the snow. Max, haunted by the trauma of past events, decides to use her supernatural abilities once more to save Safi from her grim fate. However, this time, Max's powers aren't the same. Rather than rewinding time as she did in Life is Strange, Max now has a shift ability that allows her to explore parallel timelines. In one timeline, Safi is already dead, but in the other, she's alive. Though the danger hasn't been averted, Max's task is to prevent Safi's murder across both timelines, adding a layer of complexity that sets this sequel apart from its predecessor. The stakes are high, and the game challenges players to navigate between two realities while racing against time to prevent further tragedy. The core gameplay of Double Exposure stays true to the narrative-driven, choice-based experience Life is Strange fans love. Like its predecessors, the game involves making tough decisions that carry weight and affect the outcome of the story. However, there's one major shift. Pun intended. Max's new shift ability replaces the rewind mechanic. Instead of rewinding time to explore different choices, Max can now move between parallel timelines. Each timeline comes with its own set of choices and consequences. This change in mechanics gives the game a fresh take on the traditional Life is Strange formula. Players no longer have the luxury of trying out multiple outcomes by rewinding time. Instead, each decision feels final, giving the story a more intense sense of urgency. Without the option to second guess, players need to commit to their choices and live with the consequences, making each decision far more impactful. Additionally, the introduction of the shift ability allows for some creative puzzles. Max can detect key points in either timeline where she can use her powers to shift between realities. These points often contain clues, objects, or interactions that can help solve the mystery and prevent Safi's murder. This new mechanic not only enriches the storytelling, but also enhances the gameplay experience by requiring players to think more strategically. One of the main draws of the Life is Strange series has always been its strong character development, and Double Exposure is no different. Max is no longer the same teenager who struggled to control her rewind powers. She has matured and carries the weight of her past decisions, including the traumatic events that occurred in Arcadia Bay. This makes her more complex and relatable as she grapples with the consequences of her past actions. The introduction of new characters, particularly Safi, adds depth to Max's story. Safi is more than just a plot device. Her presence has an emotional impact on Max and the player alike. Safi's fate is at the heart of the story, and her death in one timeline versus her life in another makes for a compelling narrative that keeps players invested. What's especially notable is how Double Exposure respects the choices made in the original Life is Strange. Whether Max chose to save Arcadia Bay or Chloe, both endings are acknowledged. Max's thoughts, journals, and interactions subtly reference the player's previous decisions, creating a sense of continuity and emotional resonance for those who played the first game. Visually, Double Exposure stays true to the series' signature art style, blending realism with an artistic, painterly aesthetic. The environments of Caledon University feel atmospheric and alive, with small details that make each setting feel lived in. Whether exploring snow-covered landscapes or tense dorm rooms, the game's visuals create a sense of immersion. The sound design and score also play a significant role in setting the tone. Like previous entries, music is an essential part of the Life is Strange experience, and Double Exposure does not disappoint. The indie soundtrack, paired with the game's quiet, contemplative moments, adds an emotional layer that enhances the storytelling. Now, let's talk about the negative aspects of the game. For players who enjoyed experimenting with the rewind ability, the loss of this mechanic may be disappointing. The shift ability introduces a new challenge, but it removes the flexibility of exploring alternate outcomes. At times, the story can feel slow, especially when navigating between timelines, and some players might find the constant back and forth disorienting. While the story remains engaging, the game's structure is more linear compared to previous installments, limiting the sense of exploration that fans of the series may expect. Life is Strange. Double Exposure brings back Max Caulfield in a fresh story filled with emotional depth, new characters, and a unique gameplay mechanic. The shiftability adds complexity to the choice-driven narrative, making every decision feel more meaningful. While it lacks the rewind mechanic from the original, Double Exposure stands on its own within the series. It's a great pick for fans of narrative-driven games, but those seeking more exploration or flexibility might miss some features from previous entries. Overall, it's worth playing if you're invested in Max's story. If you're into games that keep you on the edge of your seat with tough decisions and dark twists, be sure to check out our in-depth review of Until Dawn in 2024, another game that challenges you with life and death choices and branching narratives. You won't want to miss it.